Hello and welcome to this segment of IPPFA TV. I'm your host, James McNamee, President of the Illinois Public Pension Fund Association. And today we're here to welcome Rich White, the Executive Director of the Illinois Police Officers Pension and Investment Fund. Rich, welcome to IPPFA TV, and thanks for taking out some of your time today to join us. Can you give our audience a little bit about your background, who you are, and how you came to being the executive director of the investment fund?
Well, Jim, thank you for having me. Thank you to IPPFA for the invitation to join you. It's a pleasure. Thanks for asking. So, as you mentioned, I'm the executive director of the Illinois Police Officers Pension Investment Fund, which is a fund that was newly created in January of 2020. So we've been in existence for almost 6 years, 5.5 years. The legislation that started our fund was signed by the governor, passed by the legislature, signed by the governor in 2019, so 6 years ago. So we've been in existence a very short period of time. I came to the IPPFA after I retired and a full career in law enforcement. I'm originally from New York. Spent some time in law enforcement and the criminal justice system in New York, and then ended up in California, where I've lived for 45 years. And out there, I was a sworn deputy sheriff in the county sheriff's department in Orange County, California, for 32 years.
And you retired as a sergeant, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of people don't know this. I was out there for a little time. I was an LA County sheriff for a little while, so we both kind of did our little bouncing around. And so you were a sergeant on the department, and then somewhere along the line, you got interested in pensions, interested in retirement. When did you step into that? I mean, I take it you had to run for that position on the Orange County Retirement Board, right?
Yes. So our system is retirement system is similar to Illinois, but one of the differences is that we have a blended system in Orange County. So the county of Orange, where I worked, has its own pension fund, but it's made up of the entire employee component of the county. So it's municipal, the non-sworn workers, county workers, as well as the sworn elements of the sheriff's department, and the fire authority, basically the fire department, as well in our county, the probation department, we're safety members as well. So we had a 9-member board of trustees, and I was elected as the safety member representative. So I was elected by the law enforcement, by fire and probation members, active members of the retirement system.
So how long ago was that? I don't want to put you in a spot with that where we sound like it was back when, Methuselah lost his shoes. But.
No, well, I mean, I was first elected in 2003, and I served 9 years, three terms. 3 terms, and you were also the chair of that system. And during those 9 years, I was the vice chair for 1 or 2 years, and then I was the chair for 1 or 2 years as well. I think 1 year I was the chair of the entire system, and in 1 year I was the chair of the investment committee.
And then also you became president of the state association that you have out there called SACRS, if I'm getting this right?
Yeah, State Association of County Retirement Systems, SACRS. And in California, there are 20 counties, like the county that I was in Orange County. There's 20 counties. You mentioned you were in Los Angeles County. That's the biggest county system of the 20 systems. But there are 20 counties that have their own pension fund. Those 20 counties were in an association, this State Association of County Retirement Systems. And I was the president of that organization for 4 years.
Okay, that's excellent. And then, of course, somewhere down the road, me and you met and formed a friendship through the years being involved, because we're both, obviously, our passion, both of us have the same passion, which is good pension benefits and good management, good governance of the systems and everything. Right. And so then you came out to Illinois, you applied, you got hired, and they hired you as the executive director. And here's this big startup. And this is a project, right? Kind of run us through what was going through your mind when you did all this.
Yeah, it was for me. It was a perfect intersection of, as you mentioned, my experience with public pension funds with Orange County and with the state of California system, and then law enforcement, where I was a sworn deputy sheriff for 34 years, 32 in California. So that intersection of law enforcement and public pensions led me to Illinois, and with the IPOPIF, which is a pension fund, a trust fund for the Article 3 law enforcement side. So there was a very good intersection there. But one of the first things that I noticed and everybody told me about, there was no roadmap, there was no book. There was no guide to build this organization. It was built from scratch. The fire side was the same way. We didn't have a roadmap. It really hadn't been done, a consolidation like this in a very long time. And there was no roadmap, obviously, for doing it in the state of Illinois.
So you were like an explorer, basically. You were exploring new ground, and had to develop this from the ground up.
Yes.
And I remember going through the process with it all. You had to develop all the rules, put together these playbooks, and I just my hats off to you, because that was a huge project, but it's also a once in a lifetime opportunity. Correct?
It was, and it was all for the right reasons. Like I say, it was that intersection of law enforcement and public pension experience for me, and it was doing it for the law enforcement, for the active members, the beneficiaries, the retirees in law enforcement in the state of Illinois. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to contribute as much as I could to the law enforcement.
So how big of a staff does the investment fund have?
Well, when I started in 2020, I was employee number one, and I was employee number one and only for a year. Now we have today 11 full-time staff in our organization. We have room for a couple others that we may be doing some recruitment on later on. But right now we have 11, which is we have 4 on the investment side, and then the other 7 on the administrative side of finance side.
So, and your offices are in Peoria, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of in the central area of our states.
That's right.
Right there.
That's right.
And so obviously one of the most important issues for you, besides managing this large fund, is communication to your stakeholders, which is the local boards are still in place. They're still here.
Right.
So, do you find that to be a challenge, or is that kind of more it's there, and we look forward to it?
It was something that was right at the top of the list 6 years ago. When we started 5.5 years ago, when we started the communication, I say we, like I said, I was employee number one and only for a while, but as we built out, and today, our customer service focus is very important. We had to build the trust of these Article 3 funds and the 25,000 members that represent active law enforcement and the retirees and beneficiaries in the Article 3 funds. We had to build their trust. We were not given that trust. We had to build it. We had to earn it. And we've spent every moment we can to communicate and work with and partner with the Article 3 funds, the pension funds, as well as the members, as well as the municipalities and their representatives, to be transparent and to be able to show them what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and to gain, again, their confidence and their trust that we're doing it solely on their behalf.
And that's an important thing. I mean, right now, the local boards, they have a responsibility of setting the benefit levels and doing the disabilities, and then shipping the money over to you. Basically, right. They help with the collection of the tax money, and then they ship it over to you, and then you guys invest it and stuff. So there's all of that partnership, so to speak. So basically, you're like a super mutual fund, basically, for all the boards. And how many boards are there that pay into you guys?
Yeah, a couple of things. So there's 357 funds. Article 3 funds. Again, a couple have come in, a couple have gone out over time, but essentially 356 funds that exist around the state of Illinois. We, as you mentioned, we're kind of in the central area of that in Peoria. Each of those boards are entitled to have a 5 board membership. as far as pension fund trustees, which come from the active, the retirees, and the municipal community that are appointed or elected by the individual funds.
And so here's a quick question for you. What was the asset size when you started, and what's the asset size today?
Yeah, our first assets, and that was one of our main tasks for a long time, was to transfer the assets from the Article 3 fund into the IPPFA trust fund. We started with the first transfer of assets in March of 2022. It was a very small size. We had our last transfer of assets in October of 2024, which was about $1.5 billion, which came from the essentially 16 Article 3 funds that were involved in the litigation issue. And that came over. So today, we have transferred over about $10.6 billion is what the assets from the Article 3 funds came over. About $10.6 billion represents, that level of cash, monies that came over. And we're about 14.5, depending on the day we take the measurement, but we're a little over $14 billion today as we sit here.
So
the difference represents that growth in assets, as well as the interest of the assets and the growth in the asset products.
And you guys had to map over the assets from the funds into investing and how you were going to disperse them, which in some ways had to be kind of complicated. So I can't imagine how much work the office had to do and mapping that out and stuff. How many managers do you guys have right now within the fund?
Well, when we started in 2022, we had 2 managers, and we were all in passive investment products. I say 2 managers. We actually could add a third to that, which was our real estate manager. Approximately 20 some of the funds, I don't have the number right, but approximately 20 of the Article 3 funds were invested in a real estate product, and that real estate product was taken over in kind into the IPPFA. And we have that as a real estate, but it's not a new investment that we made. Again, it's just a combination of the Article 3 funds products into one product. We started with two investment managers in the passive space, and starting in January of 2024, we started to add active investment managers into our investment strategy. Today, as we sit here, we have 13 of investment managers that we've hired, that the Board of Trustees have hired since January of 2020.
So have you guys gone into private equity yet?
We have not, but we have started the process. We actually have an open search right now that the board just approved for a private equity manager. The board hired a private markets consultant firm a couple of months ago to roll out the private markets investment strategy, which will represent today about 20% of the assets. So we have a couple small investments in private credit and some other small areas, but the bulk of it, the private equity part of it, we have an active search for a private equity manager going on right now, and that search will probably conclude in January of 2026.
That's excellent. So now all the money's over, right? All the money from the funds is all over, other than the holdback, our audience should know there's a holdback the local boards have to do because they have to pay out the benefits. And that holdback money is usually just 2 or 3 months, generally speaking, of pension checks that need to go out.
That's right.
That's about basically what it is. So there, all the money's over. You didn't have any problems with getting it all or liquidating it all or bringing it into the system, correct?
We were able to take, and I don't have the exact numbers, but somewhere around 65% of the equities came over. We were able to take over in kind, so they weren't liquidated. They had to be liquidated or sold. And I think about 35% of the fixed income investments that came over, we were able to keep in kind. But everything else was liquidated and sold, transitioned, and then put into the trust fund, again, either in the passive managers or in the active management that we started. And it's important to note that not during the transition, everything, the cash was always invested in the markets. It was never out of the markets. And also very important to note, one of our charges is that the money was always accounted for the individual funds. So we have a track record and reconciliations and receipts and monthly statements that shows that where each individual's funds cash, where it started with and what it is today, so they can track that back to know that their cash is still in their individual account in our custodian account.
Well, I got to say, this has got to be the pinnacle of your career. You got to do something that not a lot of people get to do, and that is to build something from the ground up.
Right.
A massive fund that covers the whole state of Illinois, outside of the city of Chicago and the state employees. But that's a lot of employees, affects a lot of people, and my hats off to you.
Thank you.
I do know a lot of us felt comfortable that it was one of our own, basically a law enforcement guy taking over as executive director. I felt that was, in my mind, that was important. We wanted to have somebody who was part of our community that understands us, but yet is a manager, administrator, and knows how to do this. And so that was important to us. And so again, my thank you to you for assuming that role and doing the job you've been doing, because we've on our end, on the association, we've been seeing that you've been doing an excellent job. So
appreciate
thank you. Thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to add on our show today?
There a lot. I just think I appreciate, we've been a part of IPPFA, since we started here. I mean, obviously I have a relationship with IPPFA that predates my time here in Illinois as the executive director of IPOPIF, and I've always enjoyed IPPFA, the conferences, the training that you put on. I think it's quality. It's important for the pension fund trustees to get to be educated, and it's something that I think most of us didn't sign up for. Right? We signed up to be in law enforcement. Our training, our background, our education, everything was in law enforcement, and then all of a sudden, pension funds come up, and you go, "What is this? And what do I do? And how do I do it?" So it's very important for a pension fund trustee. And I'm
going to point something out, because I know we're closing, but the difference today that I'm seeing with the younger officers is they're more aware of their pension benefits and retirement benefits than the older guys were. The older guys, when they went out, it was like, here we're going out, and it's my pension, and in a week before they go out, they kind of check into it. These younger guys,
a week might be generous,
right? I mean, these younger guys are really in tune.
Yes, that's so.
And there's a big. I think that's awesome, by the way, because they have much more sophistication in their retirement benefits. Yeah. And wouldn't you agree with me on that? That's where I didn't mean to chop you off, but that was just something that popped at me.
No, and I appreciate it, and that is so true. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have in IPPFA, or IPOPIF, and in IPPFA is to get that training and that education and that knowledge to the active law enforcement members of what their benefit is, because they're working 20, 30 years to get there, and they don't necessarily know what it means when you get there. Right. And it's so important to know what it is. Like I said, well in advance of a week before you're going to retire. What's my pension benefit? What's it going to look like? And then paying attention to the changes or challenges that happen during the active life cycle of your pension benefit.
Well, and they forget, there's no overtime in retirement. It's your fixed amount.
That's right.
And there's all these ancillary expenses that were picked up by your employer that are now going to be picked up by you.
Right.
Such as medical insurance and other things. So,
that's right.
You really need to, if we could stress this enough to everybody out there, have a plan. Have a plan. Do not wait to your last year to start to develop a plan. You need a plan going in from day one.
Well, you do. And I would highlight that by just saying, my wife was active law enforcement as well. I mean, I have a very large law enforcement family, kids, relatives, family, parents, grandparents, and
right here
in law enforcement. And my wife was in law enforcement, and she got injured in the line of duty and wasn't able to finish her career. She got probably halfway through what she thought was going to be a longer career. So it brings home to you literally, what is my benefit going to be, but what's my financial plan for my future? And you have to pay attention to that during your active service, because your pension benefit is going to be your financial plan for your future. But what's it going to be like?
And that's
also
why I thought it was so
if it
important.
gets interrupted.
I thought it was just so important that we have somebody of your background who not only was a background of managing pension funds, but was a law enforcement officer and a manager of law enforcement officers as a sergeant and everything, because you know what the challenges are. You know what the community is that you're dealing with and what they face out there. And again, thank you so much for joining us today, Rich. This has been great. We will close out this segment of IPPFA TV. And thank you all for chiming in and listening with us. And we'll be doing more with Rich down the road and some other discussions. So thank you.